On today's big story, acting dean of the Central University College Faculty of Law and criminologist Professor Kenneth Effa says inmates at the various prisons in the country should not hesitate to sue the state for dehumanizing conditions they're subjected to. His call comes amid concerns over conditions in Ghana's prisons. The Eastern Regional Security Council is set to erect tents at the Koforidua prisons to isolate some 20 inmates with chickenpox, as well as 2 others who are also suffering from tuberculosis. Inmates at the Koforidua Central Prison, during a recent visit by the Eastern Regional Minister Julius Deborah, called for improved and better conditions within their facility. It was revealed that about 700 inmates cramped at the facility queue to attend nature's call in 3 water closets which hardly had water running through them. What more can be done to improve conditions at the prisons, considering government's limited resources? Should prisoners who have committed crime and sentenced have a say in calling for improved conditions at the prisons? My name is Stephen Anti, and this is today's big story. Well, we're now joined on the telephone line by Haruna Yusuf Wumpini. I think that's his name. Our Eastern Regional correspondent is joining us. So, good evening, Haruna. Can you tell us what the situation is on the ground? We understand that you were on a tour with the regional minister today.
Yes, the tour is not today. Hello?
Yes, I'm listening. So it's not today. So what has been happening where you are in relation to the outbreak of what we are told is chickenpox among the prisoners?
Yeah, it's true. The regional minister actually, after a human office, and then he decided to pay a familiarization visit to the security services in the region. And when the minister actually got to the prison service, inside, after interacting with the prison officers, then it was disclosed to the minister that actually the inmates themselves chickenpox outbreak in the Koforidua prisons, and then tuberculosis as well. So the minister actually told the officers in charge to let those that it affected come out so that he will interact with them. So they brought them out, and the minister actually interacted with the affected persons in the prisons yard. And all what the minister told them, he assured them, he said the regional health directorate will be given an information about the incident so that they can come there and look at them. Even though the officers said that they have a nurse in the prison, that during our visit, actually we did not go to meet the nurse. So the minister interacted with them and told them that he's going to make sure that he get in touch with the regional health directorate and inform them about this matter so that as early as possible they will rush to that place and see, so that because the chickenpox is an airborne disease, maybe others will also be affected. So the situation as it stands now, the minister has already given information to the regional health directorate in respect of this outbreak.
Right, thank you very much, Haruna Yusuf, our Eastern Regional correspondent who joined us there from the Eastern Regional capital, Koforidua. There we're making efforts to get to the Chief Public Relations Officer of Ghana Prison Service, Mr. Vitalis Aye, to get us some on-the-spot report of the prison conditions there in Koforidua. So let's now get back to the studio where I have with me Francis Xavier. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing well.
I mean, when we hear of prison and inmates and jail, then we miss you because we remember how you fought hard to get that money for your client. I mean, this is bad, right? In 20th century, for prisons to be so dirty to the point that 20 inmates have chicken pox and tuberculosis, and they have to be more like quarantined from the rest.
It is very bad. Honestly, it is very bad, and it is, I would say, shameful as well, that in this day and age, where we are saying we are a free society, you know, we have a democracy which is cherished, you know, the world over. I think it is extremely worrying to see our prisons in this very deplorable condition. That is just to say the least. Because when you look at our own obligations under international human rights standards, our own obligation as a state to prisoners, as far as our 1992 constitution is concerned, I think the least said about this condition, the better. The better. It is really, really bad.
I mean, as a legal practitioner, you possibly may have represented a lot of people on pro bono basis and whatever basis you work as a lawyer. But can you tell us some of your most painful memories of the prison conditions you have witnessed at first hand?
Well, I would say that some of my painful memories have been times that you get to prison, and even though within the walls of prison there is some liberty, but these prisoners are denied of that liberty. They are denied opportunity to have conversation, you know, with people like visitors like us who probably would visit and may want to interrogate, you know, those people. And when you look at where these prisoners sleep, it is terrible.
You can't believe that human beings will sleep there.
You simply can't believe that. Honestly, sometimes you would think that this is a place for animals. I mean, and this is not to exaggerate, and I'm sure that anyone who has the opportunity to visit prison often would bear with me that prison conditions in Ghana are very, very terrible, and I think we really need to be very serious and do something about it. Because, you know, when you look at the Constitution, you look at Article 15 of the 1992 Constitution, it says it clearly that human dignity shall be inviolable. The prison conditions in Ghana violate the human dignity of the inmates.
Let me pause you and get on to the phone lines. We're told that Dr. McDaniel, who is the Eastern Regional Director of Health Services, is joining us on telephone. So, sir, good evening and thanks for your time on today's big story. Now, the situation there with the outbreak of chicken pox among the prisoners and one tuberculosis, how bad is it, considering that chicken pox is airborne? This could affect people within the prisons and outside the prisons as well.
Good evening, for the opportunity to talk to you again on the situation in the portfolio of prisons. It was on last Friday when the regional minister paid a visit to the prisoners that he and his entourage were informed that we have cases of chickenpox in the prison. And we sent a team to look at the situation, and we discovered that there were 22 cases of chickenpox in the prison. Chickenpox as a disease is highly contagious, so it is very easily contacted from one person to the other. And the situation in the prison has to do with the congestion that currently pertains, because the facilities in the prison are for an estimated.
Doc, let's fast track our conversation to when you got reports that there were this number of people infected with chickenpox in the prison. Did you go there or send officers to inspect the conditions there in the prisons?
I sent a public health team, because the prison comes under the municipal health directorate. So I sent a team from my office that went together with the Municipal Health Directorate team to visit the prison, and they issued me with a report.
Right. So what feedback did they bring you?
The feedback is that they had 22 cases of chickenpox among the inmates. And the challenge we have as a health sector has to do with chickenpox is contagious. That is, people get it from each other. And the prison situation is that of high congestion because the prison was meant for about 400 inmates. But currently we have a total of 730 inmates. And when you have diseases that are contagious, you want to isolate those who suffer from the disease from the others.
Right, so I mean,
you cannot do that
sure.
in a condition where you are having limited space. So that's some of our problems.
Your officers reported to you about congestion. What else did they see? Sanitation challenges or what? I mean, and what advice are you, I mean, as a health directorate, offering the prison service to ensure not only do people not contract these diseases, but they don't reinfect other people?
When you talk about congestion in our prisons, it's a situation where we have limited space and the facilities become stretched. So sanitation becomes a major problem. And as a people, as Ghanaians, it is our dignity as humans that is being challenged. And I personally believe it is a situation where civil society should try to do a lot more to assist government. Because over the years, we've been told government cannot do it all. And if we want to retain our sanity and our dignity as women, we need to assist to improve these conditions.
Right, so apart from setting up tents with a view to separate those who have the chicken pox and the one person who had tuberculosis from the others, what are you doing to, one, stop the reinfection of the chicken pox and tuberculosis, and also stopping general infections in the prison service altogether? You have a role to play, right?
Yes, we have a role to play. That is making sure that the right things are done and advocating and discussing with the prison authorities. Currently, we are in discussion with them. Can we, for instance, look at the remand prisoners and see if we can move them elsewhere? These are some of the things we are discussing with the prison authorities.
Right.
And efforts are being put in place so that we can reduce the numbers. And if we're able to reduce the numbers, it will allow us to use one cell to contain the cases.
I see.
Then we are also advocating that skincare, people are given opportunity to actually have decent baths so that they can take care of their skins, and that will reduce the number of cases that we have. Right.
And what are the prison authorities saying to these suggestions you have made to them?
I must be honest with you, the prison authorities have been very cooperative since the outbreak of this situation. And they are also humans, and at times we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that they find it very difficult living in these conditions. And just like everybody else, their hands are tied, we have to be with them. They are even subjected to these conditions as women, and so they are very cooperative in trying to ensure that things are done properly.
Right. All right, Dr. Macdanian Dejo, Eastern Regional Director of Health. We're grateful that you could join us. We'll still have you hold, though, and as we do a back and forth discussion in the studio. So, Francis, you heard him say that the numbers at that prison is over 100% beyond what the prison was built for.
Yeah.
I mean, what can be done about this? The suggestion he made of easing congestion by removing some inmates to other facilities. Prisoners. How easy is that?
Well, I think it should be possible. You know, I don't foresee that to be very easy, but I keep saying that if you consent to be a boxer, you cannot see that your opponent is hitting you too hard. You know, once we have, decided to govern ourselves by this way, that when people commit offenses and they are found guilty, we want by our laws to, if you like, restrain them to a particular location, then it is our obligation to ensure that whilst they are there, their fundamental liberties or their fundamental rights under the Constitution are protected. If you look at the circumstances at the prisons right now, particularly in relation to this Koforidua case, you realize that the health and, in fact, the right to life of these prisoners has been endangered. Because for each of these prisoners who are contracting the diseases, they can die. And if they can die and the Constitution guarantees the right to life, then whatever the state must do to ensure that the situation is contained, the state must do. If it would mean that we have to take emergency or we have to take like emergency steps to build some facilities, we should be able to do that. But we cannot, you know, just give that blanket excuse of, well, we do not have facilities, we are constrained, and for that reason people should suffer, you know, unnecessarily. And I think that we should be able to do something about that.
So what do you make of Professor Atefe's suggestion that possibly it's time for inmates who are put in inhuman conditions to take legal action against the state? How can such a legal action be pursued by the person who is in jail?
Yeah, honestly, you know, that would, for me, I would love to do something like that. You see, because we need to test our laws. We need to push ourselves to the limit. It doesn't matter whether the person is in jail or not. The fact is that when the person is jailed, only one of his rights has been taken away. That is right to personal liberty and right to movement. Apart from that, all other rights are guaranteed. In fact, the Supreme Court has even ruled that even their right to vote is guaranteed. Now the question is that, to the extent that these rights are not actualized, these people have a right to go to court. If you look at Article 33 of the 1992 Constitution, it says that when a person alleges that his right, which is enshrined in the Constitution, is about or is being or has been breached, such a person can go to the court, the High Court, for remedies. For all these inmates who are suffering, you know, breaches of their fundamental rights, i.e. to personal dignity, to against, you know, inhuman or dehumanizing treatment, these prisoners can actually go to court for remedies.
And in fact, this has gone on for a long time. I mean, as far as I remember being born, there were bad prison conditions.
And it looks like if we don't do anything about it,
it's going to remain.
Remain. And for me, I always say that for all of us who are listening and watching out there, today you are free. Tomorrow it might be you. In fact, many people have been, you know, either, for want of better words, framed and they found themselves in prison.
For no crime.
No crime. In fact, we've had some very horrible stories out there. But sometimes, you know, the evidence points at you. So you would end up there. And you can imagine, if you are home today and you are free, maybe you are a leader of a civil society organization, you don't really care. You are a leader of a religious organization, you don't really care.
You are a news editor.
You know, and you're a news editor, you don't really care. Well, the time may come, you will find yourself there. Then you would realize that, like the Akan man will say, you know, a kind of proverb that is used. So we must, you know, wake up to the call. I think that Prof's call is a call in the right direction. And all of us who really believe in human rights, we will be on the standby. Anytime we are given the instructions,
you know,
we
Dr.
would love to go ahead.
Damian Dejo raised a key issue that civil society and individuals should get involved. To what extent can they get involved in solving a problem which one was created, or is the responsibility of government to resolve?
You know, I think it is because in governance, we all form part. You know, the executive, the legislature, the judiciary, you know, civil society, we all form part of governance. In fact, it is to that extent that we can help resolve this problem. Now, I think that one of the ways, practical ways, we can resolve this problem is to, you know, implement alternative sentencing measures. There are many people who don't need to be in prison.
Like non-custodial?
Non-custodial sentences. Many people can do social services. Look, we have many things that we can put people to do. Cleaning of, you know, places like Kolebu.
Working on national service farms.
You know, things like that. There are many things we can do. It is only that we as a people and as a nation, we haven't decided that we want to go that way.
We're not thinking out of the box, right?
If we really want to go that way, I believe that we can put together a team that can research into all these non-custodial sentences and make proposals to the Attorney General, and this can be added to our laws. And judges will then begin to consider some of these things. For some misdemeanors, people are put to jail. Somebody stealing a goat, a cow, he's in jail 20 years, 15 years, 10 years. This is not acceptable.
Anyway, Dr. Damien Dajo, who is the Eastern Regional Director of Health Service, we've lost him on the telephone and we're trying to raise him back. But the key question I would have loved to put to him is that doesn't the Regional Health Directorate have the power to perhaps close down the prison on health grounds? Well, I want to believe that if this was happening in the United Kingdom or in the U.S., this prison would have been shut down.
Well, it depends, because a lot of things are going to be playing, issues of national security, and don't forget that those people are being held on the orders of another state institution which has performed its constitutional duty. I believe that perhaps the courts will be the best people to tell us what would have happened under these circumstances. If someone was to take an action, a human rights action to the Human Rights Court, and say that on health grounds we want, maybe it may not be a total close down.
Perhaps it might be part of the release
a part
that
of the release,
person will seek.
and other things will probably come in place, either relocating the entire prison, and if you can relocate them, of course, sometimes on health grounds people are granted bail. Most of these people, I don't know how many of them are convicted prisoners, how many of them are just remand prisoners. For those who are remand prisoners, I dare say that any human rights court will be willing to grant them bail on health grounds, because even their being at the prison is a danger to other prisoners and other inmates. So I think that it is, it is something some of us will be interested in following, and perhaps in the next few days, and see how this goes, and see what kind of advocacy we can do in relation to this.
Right, thank you very much. Francis Xavier is a legal practitioner. And my name is Stephen Enti. This is where we wrap for today's big story. As you heard, the big story is that 20 inmates of the Koforidua prison have been infected with chickenpox, and tents have been set for them to separate them from the rest. And one person also has tuberculosis. Professor Kenatefa says that these prisoners should be thinking about suing the state. This has been today's big story. We'll be back with the interactive segment. Stay with us.
So, welcome back. This is JN Interactive, where tech meets news to set the agenda. And we're talking about the growing youth unemployment today. Before I go into it, the show is all about you. It is nothing without your comments, without your contribution, without the feedback that you bring. So, please join me on facebook.com/joinnews-on-TV. Post your comments there on the post that we have already put there, and I'll amplify your voice by sharing it with the rest of the world. We are on Twitter. The Joy News handle is @JoyNewsOnTV, and the show has a new Twitter page just dedicated to you. We have been listening, after all. You asked for it, and it is live. You would find us at JN Interactive GH. That is the show's Twitter handle. I am on Twitter too, and I tweet @MNTourist. So you see, you have all of this at your disposal to send all your comments there, and I'll amplify your voice by sharing it with the rest of the world. And our email address is joynewsim@multitvworld.com, and the WhatsApp number 0540109009. And JN Interactive, as always, is where tech meets news to set the agenda. I am actually trying to locate a story which I cannot find. But over 3,500 graduates have registered with the Unemployment Graduates Association of Ghana. And I'm sure you're probably thinking, huh? Yes, it is 3,500, and it is actually growing. The number keeps increasing every single day. And the number of youth in this country who have graduated or yet to graduate from school continues to actually rise over, they don't have jobs. Some in their desperation, it leads them into professions that they really are not ready for. And I am sure you wouldn't even want an uninspired resource, research person sitting in your office or an HR person sitting in your office who doesn't know what they are about. They went to school, they had to come out, and so they just wanted anything just to come out and do something. So they are not performing. I don't think you would actually want that. And the situation is so dire, it's bleak, that Ras Mubarak, who is the chief executive of the National Youth Authority, NYA, has actually implored politicians to institute creative means of fashioning sustainable jobs for youth instead of dishing money freely to them. And I was hoping that you could see the story. Ras's take is that policymakers are giving these youth money instead of giving them jobs. It's like saying that you're teaching someone to fish. Rather than fishing for them to eat, get them a job. Put policies in place that would give them good jobs. Rather than give them money, they come and see you as a parliamentarian, you give them money and say, support me, do this for me, and I'll give you money. But once that money is finished, what happens? They come back to square one. And so we are talking about it. It's a big problem. And so we are talking about it. I have resource people standing on the line. Austin Game, who is a labor expert, is standing on the line. And I have another gentleman from Amnesty International to also talk to. It's employment. Is it your human right? Yeah, perhaps it is. And because if I'm in a country that is expecting me to go through the mill and get to age 24 when I finish my first degree and promises to give me a job and they're not giving me a job, perhaps my human rights is being infringed upon. And so he will try and help us understand that as well. We have been out there. Sarah has been out there, and she's been speaking to all of you. We'll take our first video block, and we are asking, do policymakers need to prioritize job creation in this country? Let's take a listen to what you have been sharing with us on the ground, and when we come back, we'll hit the phone lines and talk to our resource people.
Thank you, Marion. The CEO of the National Youth Authority is asking politicians to, instead of providing students with money after the completion of school, they should instead provide lasting solutions for the unemployment rate in Ghana. Now, the big question is, are policymakers doing their jobs to create opportunities for those that are out of school?
They are not making much policies for us to do what we have to do to get a job. So we need future entrepreneurs who can manage the country, and without money, how can we do it? We can't do it without the money. So I think it's not bad.
When you finish, they don't know you. When they get there, it's like when they get there, they think about themselves, their relatives. They don't think about we outside. They don't think about us. Yeah, that's it.
There are so many graduates out there who are trying their possible best to get jobs, but yeah, I don't know. There are not many job vacancies out there.
Right now, they have a policy. They are saying whom you know, or who knows you. So the moment you finish school, you go there looking for job. Meanwhile, those places are occupied. Who are the occupants there? It's their relatives and their people who they've placed them there. So to me, I think policymakers are not creating the chance for us to have job at the workplace.
The leaders over there are not helping us a lot, because when you look at us and you compare us with the university people, the university graduates, it's like they have been given more chance as compared to us. We are very competent. We are with the handiworks and the other stuff, but like they are much more like giving the orders and things like that. And our people over there are very much linked to the university people, right? So they think when they take people like them to do the work, they can do it for them better than us.
When they get into power, they try to do things to get ourselves our minds that they're going to do something for us. But when they get there, things change. They try to do things for their own self and their children too.
So yes, I told you I have some resource people standing by, and at this particular moment, I have Mr. Austin Game, who is a labor expert, on the line, and apparently he loves JN Interactive, and he's been wishing to come on the show and talk to us. Hello, Mr. Game.
My sister, how are you?
I'm fabulous. How are you doing?
I'm doing so. I'm fine.
I hear you really love JN Interactive, and you were you know, shall I say, living to come to the show, not dying to come to the show, living to come to the show and share your thoughts with us.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for joining us. But as a labor expert, I really want to find out, can we see this, you know, as you know, something that is so burdensome for this country, for policymakers to actually put policies in place for people to find jobs?
Yes, it's indeed burdensome. I recall when we were writing the policy on pension, I happened to be representing NAT on the Pension Commission, and a lot of people appeared before us, and we had a lot of information. I cannot share some online now for obvious reasons, confidentiality reasons.
Okay.
But sufficing to say that I really got to know that people are desperately looking for jobs. Governments were finding it and are still finding it difficult to create avenue for formal jobs. But it's clear that in Africa, and Ghana no exception, we are not burdened with only formal jobs because our specialty appears to be in the area of creating informal jobs as well. What is rather curious, and we must try and look for answers, is how can government and other players in the business create the enabling environment to enable people to take advantage, especially the young ones, take advantage and pull themselves together and be able to create the opportunities also for themselves. Let me give you a typical example. As a consultant to some companies, there is one of the largest farms in the whole of West Africa is located in Ghana here. You can find it in a place, a very small village they call Togoma, but they have a huge tract of land, which the former LDC used to farm on, but is now taken over by a company called VegPro.
Right.
It's a huge farm, and they have created space for about 1,000 acres for outgrowers, and they have trained men and women, young people, and they are making available this land and space for them to farm.
Right.
And they are preparing to start now, and they have ready market for the produce that will be sent, because it's a free zone enclave, that is being sent to the European market.
Right.
Now, so there are opportunities, but we need to tap in properly. I saw what our good friend Ras Mubarak stated today.
Yeah.
I read it on my Joy Online. And clearly, this is a very promising opportunity for young people who may either have education or half education, or they are fully, out of school, and they will have access to this great opportunity, this simple technology, but very impactful on what they want to do. And if they are able to pull their house in order, they will become rich very soon, so to say.
Right.
So I think that the opportunities are there. And let me give you a typical example of myself also. Once upon a time when I was, in the political office,
right,
I spent my fund, the Member of Parliament fund,
right,
commonly called MP's fund,
right,
to train people who want to go into nursing. I know one now who is doing midwifery after doing the nursing. He's doing midwifery in Ho right now.
Right.
And I'm so proud when I see her and other people we've sent to training colleges, and they have come out and they are teaching. I'm saying it just because of this program, that God knows my heart. I don't like to talk about it because that's just what I have to do.
Right.
So I think that the opportunities are there if we have now over 270-something MPs. If all of them can find ways and means, instead of rightly not giving money to the people,
right,
You can support people with transport, 100 Ghana cedis. It doesn't really matter too much.
That was exactly going to be my follow-up question based on what you said you had done by your example. I wanted to find out what you make of politicians who would, just dole out cash, to these youths instead of providing them with long-lasting solutions to their problems.
You see, those who are typical addicted politicians who don't have the desire to come out,
right?
But they will stay in forever. They have to find ways and means of appeasing the people who want to, who are their chief supporters, and who are the people who go helping them by campaigning.
But can that be seen as some form of a bait to actually hook them on for longer?
Well, it may not be long, but
okay.
The way we are in this country, 100 Ghana cedis is as big money for somebody
right.
who do not have access to money for many days. So 100 Ghana cedis from an honorable MP or maximum 200 Ghana cedis from an MP is sufficient for the person. But I would like to urge that looking at this very typical example, our polytechnics, for instance, can be assisted to go through this kind of, to see this example, this very simple technology, yet very impactful, can be developed in many other ways, not only in breeding chicken and so forth, fowl, but to do other things, to enable us create jobs that you can't find in the formal sector, because government is choked.
Right.
They cannot be able to create formal jobs in the sense of it. I have heard today that the Commander Sugar Factory,
right.
the one to come on in Salaga, indeed the farmer I was talking about, they are also going to do sugar. That maybe is not full knowledge of the country yet. So I think that it's very, very important that we look at these things. If we take also the question of pepper,
right.
It's being sold both in Ghana here and outside Ghana. But everybody wants to line up for a formal sector job. It's not possible. I have employed about 13 people in my job. That is all I can do. I can't go beyond that. If I expand it, fine, I can employ. So we must be very creative and innovative in our ability. So the universities and the polytechnics have a challenge to look at this typical example and be able to fashion out something out of it. Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Austin Game, for those insights. We truly, truly appreciate that here on JN Interactive. We'll take our last video blog whilst we try to reach our next... apparently he's actually on the line already. So we'd actually talk to him, and his name is Mr. Samuel Aklori. I hope that I have actually pronounced your name right and I haven't butchered it, but if I have, please pardon me. Hello, Samuel.
Hello.
Good evening and welcome to the show.
Good evening. Thank you for having me, and I also greet your cherished listeners.
Okay, I am sure they hear you loud and clear. My first question would be, do you actually think policymakers in Ghana have come to accept this as a human rights issue, especially you coming from Amnesty International?
Yes, I don't think so. I don't think our policymakers have actually accepted that the right to employment is a basic right. They haven't, because over the years, successful governments failed to recognize that the right to employment is a basic human right, which every government must make a priority. But this is not what we are seeing in Ghana over the years.
So would you then say that the rights of these 3,500 and counting graduates have been violated then?
Yes, of course. When you look at the right to work and employment, it's a fundamental right recognized in several international legal instruments, such as the International Labour Organization, and then International Covenant of Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights.
Right.
When it comes to social and cultural rights, it's one main right that most governments violate in Africa, and for that matter, Ghana. It is a right that we've been violating, because when you see government, most of the time they told us that they have been handicapped when it comes to resources. But that is not the case, because when you look at some of the monies that we misappropriate sometimes, some of the money that we dissipate sometimes, you realize that government actually has the money to be able to build a business for other people to do or to work on. But government over there hasn't been doing this.
So actually, from where you sit, what would you tell us is the major impediment actually, hindering this, stopping it from happening?
Yes, the government says they have no money to create jobs.
Right.
Yes.
So that is what they're saying, but that's not what you think is the case?
I don't think that's the case at all. I listened to Otingame and what he said.
Right.
And I'm very happy that he said that he, when he was in government by then, was able to put up a business.
Right.
Or look after some people who went to school, now they are working on their own. Imagine if you have 275 MPs, instead of doling out 100 Ghana cedis, 50 Ghana cedis, 200 Ghana cedis to people in the villages and the communities, if they put those money together over the years and put up a place where they can work, or probably send them to school, skilled labor, and give them business avenues that they can work on. I think that would be better than giving them 100 cedis each and every time. I have detected something.
Okay.
And I realized that these people, politicians, normally give money to three types of people. Unemployed graduates. One, they do it individually. Secondly, they form a group, you for this, you for that, you for that, and they give them money. And then when they see the interest of the politicians, then that is the end of it. They have nothing to do anymore, and they become unemployed. And this continues to be the terrain.
So, from where you stand, what is the way forward?
Yes, the way forward is government must prioritize creating jobs for the people.
Okay.
Government can do that.
Okay.
But government cannot also create jobs for everybody. There should be avenues or inspirational encouragement centers where young people can go and receive advice on how to establish yourself.
Okay.
Because when you go to other countries, I'll tell you that people who are working in government are less than people who are working in the private sector.
Of course.
So we should be able to encourage young men, unemployed graduates, to be able to go into businesses that they can manage themselves and not necessarily looking at government. And I may also say that our structure, especially our educational structure, also has some problems because the courses mostly read in school are art courses, not business-like or skillful businesses that are skills that when you finish, you'll be able to do it on your own. Everybody goes in there, what they read, they come out, are all art courses, and therefore they wouldn't be able to do anything by themselves. If government is not able to provide jobs for them, then they become unemployed.
But does Amnesty International have any interventions that you could put out there for any unemployed youth who is listening or graduate who is listening to you right now?
Yes, the fact is that Amnesty International, they are into protecting and promoting the rights of citizens.
Right.
They can alert government that government, you must create jobs for the people.
Of course.
That is what they can do.
Okay.
They wouldn't be able to create jobs for the people. That what they are supposed to do is to ask government to do so. Because Amnesty International is into the protection and promotion of basic human rights.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing those insights with us. Indeed, those were very insightful that we have two experts on the line, one from Amnesty International and one a labor expert actually helping us to dissect this problematic growing youth unemployment in Ghana. And Sarah, as always, catches up with you and she speaks to you. And we actually looking at this in two dimensions, about the human rights angle and also asking how far people are really willing to go to search for jobs. Let's take our next video blog. When we come back, I'll take some of your comments that have been dropping in on social media, Facebook and on WhatsApp. Stay with us.
How far are you willing to go to get a job?
Applying to companies so that you get a vacancy or not.
After the tertiary institution, you have to go out to get a job. You can send your application out there.
I have to further my education, make sure I get my PhD certificate or whatsoever, then apply for various job vacancies and go for interviews if possible.
So yeah, you need to get a job to move your family.
After school, I have to get my first degree. Right now I'm doing HND, so I have to get my first degree before I can go out for a job, because with the HND certificate, it's less, it's very small. It can't acquire me a good job to earn a living. So it means I have to further to get my first degree and even do my master's or my doctorate before I can get a job.
At this current life, if you don't have money and you don't have a job to secure you some money at the end of every month, you really suffer at the end of the day. So with me, I have no limit, because for education, there is a saying that education has no limit. So with me, I'm ready to go every instant, to work every hard to better my education, so that at least I can be earning some pounds, not cedis, some pounds, and to better my living.
Yeah, I believe in entrepreneurship. When you are in school, you have to start being an entrepreneur, so that by the time you be done, you would have been at least organized, a little bit organized, so that you can do your own thing.
The last but one gentleman wants to earn pounds in Ghana. Anyway, who knows? We are redenominating, so perhaps we're going from GHS to GHP, GH pounds. Well, your WhatsApps have been dropping, so we'll take them now and then do some Facebook comments as well. And this one is coming from Newton Jeffers. He says, I always tell my colleagues, youth, to be creative and create their own jobs, but we always want to depend on the government for jobs that do not exist. Marian, why do we learn entrepreneurship in school? We need to be serious for once as a people. And this one says, job creation has never been a priority of any government in Ghana. This is causing the increased graduate unemployment rate in Ghana. Also, many people have gone in for courses that are not marketable in Ghana. It's a serious problem. That's from Nuruddin. Giving money to do individuals won't solve our unemployment problems, but create new jobs for our graduates, those who do not go to school, and also help self-employ people in their own work. From Kennedy Asare, Queen. And we'll take some Facebook comments also. There were 2 posts on Facebook about growing unemployment and Mubarak's issue that he was actually highlighting. And this one is coming from Newton. I think I picked this already, but he says that I will tell my colleagues, youth, to be creative and create jobs for themselves, but we always want to depend on government for jobs that do not exist. Marian, why do we learn entrepreneurship in school? We always listen to motivational messages from Albert Okron and go home looking for jobs. We need to be serious for once as a people. And Solomon says, Nanchati says, are they dishing out cash? We don't blame you because your boss himself is even confused. Maxwell says the chief executive is absolutely right. It's better to teach a man how to fish for life than to give him fish which lasts just for a meal. They may only collect money for just a year or 2 and will have to go back to square one. Let us reason with them. Bashiru says Joy News is my favorite news. No sizes. Thank you so much. This is long. I'll end with this one. Richard Bernard Kwame Hart. It's so